Okay, so we got our new camshaft bridge in. We're gonna start reassembling the car. Number one thing we're gonna start with is cleaning out the gasket surfaces. We're gonna sand this down a little bit just in case, so it doesn't protrude into the sealing surface and create a problem later. So we're gonna start aligning the lower timing chain. Number one thing you need to align is this balance shaft. The inner wheel has a dot on it, right there. There's a dot right next to, like it's painted. And the lower wheel have two dots and two teeth. You could see them right over here. So that's how they're supposed to be. That dot on this wheel supposed to be in between the dots on the lower wheel. Now the outer wheel has this another mark. That's for the timing chain alignment. So is this side. It has a mark over here. That's for the timing chain alignment. The timing chain has painted teeth. So we're gonna have to align the timing chain to this mark, that one, and there is one on the crankshaft pulley right here. We're gonna align these three marks with the lower chain. Alright, as you see, the chain has several markings on it. We're not using these, that's for different engines. So align the painted teeth to the painted wings to the marks. And now put the guides in. We encountered the problem with one of the guides. This is the guide that we had in the car. See the part number? Now this is the guide that we got from a dealer. We ordered the parts by the VIN number. The only difference is last letters. This one is 06H109469AN, and this one is 06H109469AQ. Now there is several generations of these engines. This guide came in the Audi A4 2009-2010. Apparently somebody replaced the engine in this car, and this guide don't fit this engine. So we're gonna have to reorder the guide. When you're ordering the parts for the timing chain, make sure you pick the right car. If your engine was replaced, you gotta make sure you know which car it came from. So there you go. Right, so we got a proper guide. There you go. The updated part number is 06H109469 Apple Nancy. See, this thing aligns perfectly. So this is the guy we need. So put the upper guide in. First, make sure your marks are all aligned. Now put the put the other guide in, making sure again that the marks are all aligned. And now the tensioner guide. Now put the tensioner in. Now double check the marks. Make sure they all align. See, we got a mark over here. We got a mark over here. And we got a mark over here. Now you could tighten all the bolts up, tighten up the tensioner, and put the camshaft chain in. Alright, we got everything nice and tight. Check the marks again. You better be safe than sorry. And now move on to the camshaft chain. Now the camshaft chain, same thing. It's got markings. 2 for the camshaft and 1 for the crankshaft. You have camshaft aligning marks are on the camshaft. See, it's laser etched on the side, and there is a little cut over there in the camshaft. The same thing in this, well, not the same, there's a mark on the exhaust cam as well, right here. Also on the crankshaft, the mark for the lower chain, for the camshaft chain is over here, right over here. So you're going to be aligning to that mark. Alright, put the upper chain guide in. It clips in, only goes in one way. There's a, see the clip on the guide. Don't try to put it in like that, it won't stay. It's a one-time use guide. Once you clip it in, you will not be able to take it off without damaging it. So try to do it from the first time. We have this little special holders for the camshafts. They get bolted into the holes for camshaft bridge. They are there to make your life easier when you're installing the chains, so the camshafts don't jump back and forth. They slide in and out. Align the camshaft approximately where it's supposed to be. Slide the pin in. It's going to hold the camshaft in place. That's it. Now put the chain in. Now slide the chain in through the cylinder head. Put the upper marks on. Yep. The chain is going to be hanging just a little bit. Don't worry about it. When you put the guides and tensioners in, it'll straighten out. If it doesn't align, get a wrench, just turn the camshaft back and forth and slide the locking tool in so it doesn't rotate. Now put the chain onto the crankshaft sprocket. There's a mark on the crankshaft sprocket. Make sure the mark aligns. Here you go. Here's the mark at the bottom of the crankshaft sprocket. Make sure that aligns. And now put the guides in. Turn the crankshaft backwards slightly so you have a little bit of chain slack so you could slide the guide in. Don't tighten the guides yet, just put the bolts in. When you're gonna put all the guides on and the tensioner in, make sure the marks are still aligning, and then tighten up the bolts. Tighten up the chain. Now put the tensioner guide in. Okay, slide the tensioner guide in place. Get the bolt ready. The bolt will not go in. You're gonna need a little bit more slack on the chain. Just align it so the bolt is there and it's ready for you to actually screw it in. You're gonna ratchet onto the camshaft. Slide that tool out of the way and tighten up the chain while putting the bolt in. Now you could remove this tool. The chain tool doesn't really fit with the guide installed, so and now put the tensioner in. Now pull the tab off the tensioner so the chain extends. Try to slide this little wire stopper backwards. Couple notches. And now you could tighten all the guide bolts. Make sure you remove the other camshaft holding tool as well. Help around with the wrench. And now we're going to install the oil chain tensioner. The oil chain doesn't have any marks, so just put the chain on however it goes on. The tensioner has a spring in there. Put a little pin so it holds the spring. The tensioner kind of collapsed, so you'll be able to install it. Now we're gonna install the camshaft bridge. Lubricate the bearing surfaces. Slide it onto the exhaust camshaft first, just a little bit. Make sure when you're installing it, it's gotta be perfectly straight, going in straight. Do not force it. You will cause engine damage down the road if you will force it and damage the bearing surfaces inside. The camshafts are kind of pulled together right now, So we're gonna need to spread it just a little bit, so you could insert the bridge in. Don't force it too much. It's gonna go nice and easy. Do not hit it, do not force it in. Just wiggle the camshaft just a bit so it goes in easily. Now you see there's another pin for the chain guide. Make sure it's engaged properly. Now bolt the camshaft bridge down to the head and bolt the camshafts up to the bridge. Never use power tools to tighten these bolts. You do not want to strip these threads. Now put in the plunger, the valve for the cam adjuster. We gotta torque down the camshaft adjuster solenoid valve. Make sure the socket is sitting nice and tight in the valve. It's gotta be 26 foot-pounds of torque. That's it. Now you could put everything else back together. Now tighten up the exhaust camshaft. This one is 15 foot-pounds of torque plus 90 degrees. There you go. For the lower cover, you gotta use a silicone as a sealant. We use this Mercedes. Here's a part number. Sealant. I find it to work the best. Regular RTV silicone that sells in the auto parts stores kind of suck. Keeps on leaking and make sure you apply the sealant in the corners where the block and the oil pan meets. Then apply the sealant to the cover and install the cover. There are two alignment pins, one over here and one over here. Make sure you didn't damage the cover while taking it out. Put all the bolts in by hand to make sure it's aligning properly, and then tighten them. Tighten up these bolts first so you could align the bottom bolts as well. Now we're gonna install the upper timing chain cover. You have to apply a little bit of a silicone over here in these spaces where the camshaft plate bolts down to meet the head. Just put a little bit of silicone in there. Make sure you replace the gasket on the upper cover. Alright, now put the dipstick in. Make sure you replace the O-ring on the dipstick. Now we're gonna put in the solenoid that controls the cam adjuster. Lubricate the O-ring for the solenoid so it goes in easier. Held by 3 bolts. Only put these 2 bolts in. That one's gonna be holding the dipstick. Always replace the O-ring on the dipstick. Lubricate the O-ring. Now secure the pipe with the dipstick back on. And put the crank pulley on. When you put in the crankshaft pulley back on, make sure you align this tooth. See, it's got like one of the teeth skipped. The same thing on the crankshaft itself. Make sure you align that properly. The crankshaft pulley has to be sitting nice and straight. Put the thread lock on the bolt. And that's it. Tighten the bolt up. I installed the idler pulley. And put the belt on. Make sure your spark plugs are out. And prime the engine just in case so all the tensioners expand properly. Alright. Pull the front end back on. Secured by a couple of bolts so it doesn't fall down. And bolt it up. Reconnect all the coolant hoses. To the radiator. Make sure they all clip in. You don't want them to come off while you're driving. Top of the coolant. And now you could prime the oil system. Remember, we have no spark plugs in there on purpose, so we don't have any compression in the engine, so it doesn't have any resistance on the timing chain. We're gonna spin the engine, crank it for 20-30 seconds so it primes all the tensioners and cam adjuster. Now put the spark plugs back in. Make sure you do not just throw the spark plugs into the spark plug tubes. You gotta slide it down with your finger so it doesn't hit and change the gap on the spark plugs, or lower it with the spark plug socket. Just do not drop it in there. Now put the coil packs back in. Alright, now start the car up and check how it runs. Sounds good. Now you could assemble the front end.